Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholz. Today we have Chapter 13, which is going to see Bee finally leave the kingdom of the dwarves, even if just for a moment. This is Chapter 13 of Bee, Princess of the Dwarves, which tells how Bee saw her mother and could not kiss her. Bee, with a crown set on her forehead, was more pensive and more sad than in those days when her hair flowed unbound on her shoulders, and when she went laughing to the smithy of the dwarves to pull the beards of her good friends, Pick, Tad, and Dig, whose faces, reddened by the glow of the flames, grew merry at her welcome. The good dwarves, who used to dandle her on their knees and call her their Bee, now bowed at her approach and kept deferentially silent. She regretted she was no longer a child, and she was oppressed by being the princess of the dwarfs. It no longer gave her any pleasure to see King Lox, since she had seen him cry on her account. But she liked him, for he was kind and he was unhappy. One day, if it can be said that there are days in the empire of the dwarfs, she took King Loc by the hand, and drew him to the fissure of the rock, admitting a beam in which golden motes danced gaily. "Little King Loc," she said to him, "I'm in pain. You are also a king, you love me, and I am in pain." Hearing these words of the beautiful maiden, King Loc answered, "I love you, Bee of the Clarities, Princess of the Dwarves, and this is why I have kept you in our world, so as to teach you our secrets, which are more great and wonderful than anything you can learn on earth among men, for men are less clever and less learned than dwarfs." "Yes," said Bee, "but they are more like me than the dwarfs. That is why I like them better. Little King Loc, let me see my mother again, if you do not wish me to die." King Loc walked away without answering. Bee, alone and dejected, gazed on the beam of that light which bathes the whole face of the earth and pours its radiant floods on all living men, and even on the beggars that tramp the roads. Slowly the beam grew faint and changed its golden splendor into a pale blue light. Night had come upon the earth. A star glittered through the fissure in the rock. Then someone touched her on the shoulder, and she saw King Loc wrapped in a black mantle. On his arm hung another mantle, which he put round the girl. "Come," he said to her, and he led her from underground. When she again saw the trees swept by the wind, the clouds racing over the moon and the whole of the fresh blue night, when she smelt the scents of the grasses and took to her bosom in a flood the air she had breathed during her childhood, she gave a great sigh and thought to die of joy. King Loc had taken her in his arms. Small as he was, he carried her as easily as a feather, and the two went gliding over the earth like the shadow of two birds. "Bee, you're going to see your mother again, but listen. Every night, as you know, I send your image to your mother. Every night she sees your dear shape. She smiles and speaks to it and kisses it. Tonight I'm going to show you instead of your ghost. You will see her, but do not touch her, do not speak of her, for then the charm would be broken, and she would never again see you nor your image, which she does not distinguish from yourself. I will therefore be careful. Alas! Little King Loc, there it is, there it is!" There was the keep of the Clarities rising black on the hill. Bee hardly had time to send a kiss to the old well-beloved stones. Now she saw, blooming with gillyflowers, the ramparts of the town of the Clarities fly past her. Now she was going up along a slope where glowworms shone in the grass to the postern gate, which King Loc opened easily, for the dwarves, the metal workers, are not stopped by locks, padlocks, bolts, chains, and bars. She went up the spiral staircase leading to her mother's room and stopped to put her 2 hands to her beating heart. The door opened slowly, and by the light of a lamp hung from the ceiling, Bee saw in the brooding religious silence her mother, worn and pale, her hair silvered at the temples, but more beautiful thus for her daughter than in the days gone by of splendid jewels and fearless rides. As the mother saw her daughter in a dream, she opened her arms to embrace her. And the child, laughing and sobbing, tried to cast herself into these open arms, but King Loc tore her from this embrace, and carried her off like a straw over the dark champaign, down into the kingdom of the dwarfs. And that is Chapter 13 of Bee, Princess of the Dwarves. Bee finally gets to see her mother, but as one might have expected, it was less than she had expected. This is Dan Scholz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, thank you so much for listening.